Kaivalya Navaneeta continued. Disciple, how is it that God, who is impartial, advances a few and degrades others? Master, he is like the father who encourages his sons who are in the right way and frowns on the other sons who are in the wrong way. Know it to be mercy to punish the erring and direct them to be righteous. The celestial tree, fire and water protect those who seek them by fulfilling their desires, keeping them warm and quenching their thirst. So also Ishvara is kind to his devotees and not so to others. Now, think well and judge whose fault it is. Now, here is the vital point. Rebirths will be at an end for him who adopts with perseverance the way to deliverance shown by God in the scriptures, follows the sages, gives up his evil propensities, discriminates the real from the unreal, rejects the illusion born of ignorance, and gains wisdom by realizing the self. Then and then only will rebirths be at an end for him. This is the truth. This wisdom can be gained by a long course of practice of unceasing inquiry into the self. Disciple, what is this inquiry? Master, inquiry consists in pondering over the questions: who is this I in the body, including mind, senses, etc.? What is sentience? What is insentience? What is their combination called bondage? What is release? Disciple, the cumulative effect of all the meritorious acts of past births would confer jnana on us. What is the need for an inquiry into the self? Master, listen carefully. The unselfish actions which were rendered unto God help to keep off impurities and make the mind pure. The mind, which has thus been purified, then begins to inquire into the self and gain knowledge. Disciple, Master, Is it not possible for rituals and other powerful actions which confer devotion, dispassion, happiness in the other world, supernatural powers, steadfastness in austerities, success in yoga, meditation, and divine form to give right knowledge which removes illusion? What need is there for inquiry also? Master, hear me. If you want to identify the persons in a masquerade, you set about to discover their nature, habits, and traits which are now hidden. If, on the other hand, you run about, jump, turn somersaults, climb posts, dance, and fuss about, that will not help you to recognize them. Likewise, inquiry alone can lead to the knowledge revealed in the Vedas, which only point to Brahman indirectly. Knowledge of the self cannot be gained by a study of the Vedas, feeding the hungry, performing austerities, repeating mantras, righteous conduct, sacrifices, and what not. Disciple, Master, the stain on a shining mirror can be removed by only rubbing it. Or has anyone made it stainless by knowledge only? Similarly, the dirt of ignorance should be removed by karma. How can it be done away with by knowledge which is only mental? Master, Son, the stain on a metallic mirror is material and also natural to it, but the black is not natural to the crystal, quartz. It is only superimposed on it. Appropriate work is doubtless necessary to remove the stain on the mirror, but to know that the black is a superimposition on the crystal, the mind alone will succeed. Here also, non-being, blank void, insentience, and misery are all superimposed on being consciousness bliss by the play of Maya. They are neither natural nor real. The series of karma does not conflict with avidya, ignorance, though it is perishable. On the contrary, it nourishes it. Jnana, realization, is the fire which burns away karma and ignorance. A man who has forgotten where he left his things in the house cannot recover them by weeping even for 100 years. But he will get them only if he thinks the matter over and finds out. The self is realized directly by knowledge which destroys forgetfulness, ignorance, the root cause of all misery. But it cannot be realized by any amount of hard work, though extended over several eons, yugas. Disciple: Master, why should the Vedas, which say that jnana is the sole means of supreme bliss, classify karma in the karma kanda as merit, sin, and a mixture of the two, which make the doers reincarnate as celestial beings, animals, beasts, birds, trees, insects, and so on, and human beings respectively, and further prescribe special duties for different castes and orders of men as conferring happiness when properly done. Master, like the coaxing of a loving mother concerned with the sickness of her child who has eaten earth, who offers it a tempting sweet in which a medicine is wrapped, the cheering statement of the Vedas, do your household duties, perform sacrifices, they are all good, means something different. It is not understood by seekers of pleasures in heaven. Look, it is only natural that pleasure seekers eat what they get and embrace whom they can. Would the scriptures dictate what is after all natural to everyone? Do they not know so much? No one need order. Crow, be black. Fire, burn. Neem, be bitter. You fleet wind, blow. When the Vedas enjoin, if you desire fermented drinks and meat, have them by performing sacrifices. If you have sexual impulse, embrace your wife. The person is expected to desist from other ways of satisfying his desires. The Vedas aim at total renunciation only. Disciple, in that case, why should there be these commandments at all? Master, they are only preliminary and not final. Note that the Vedas which advise thus, drink the fermented juice, eat the meat, later on say, smell it. Note also the commandment, desire sexual union for the sake of a child. Note again the commandment, give up this also, that is, sacrifice, marriage, wealth, and other possessions. Note further that complete renunciation is not a slur on a sannyasin or a strict brahmachari. Understand the scheme as a whole. Give up any desire for action, and thus you will gain beatitude. Disciple: Master, granting that actions simply aid the ignorance which gives rise to the world, if knowledge be inimical to ignorance which brings about this diversity, how can such ignorance coexist with stainless knowledge, like the spot in the moon, and effect these creations? Master, consciousness which is itself self-luminous has two aspects: pure consciousness and modal consciousness. The former manifests as the latter, and they are not therefore exclusive of each other. You have known that pure consciousness is not inimical to ignorance in deep sleep. Modal consciousness burns away ignorance, which rests on pure consciousness. Disciple: how can Maya, which expands and contracts like a bellows, remain unaffected by pure consciousness, but be burnt away by modal consciousness? Master, see how the sun shines over the whole world and sustains it, yet becomes fire under a lens and burns. So also in Samadhi, modal consciousness can burn away ignorance. Disciple, do not actions include all modes of mind, speech, and body? Is not modal consciousness a function of the inner faculty? Then, should we not say that action, a special mode of mind, destroys ignorance? Why is it marked off with the imposing title of knowledge? Please explain. Master, modal consciousness is truly a mode of mind, but we have seen that the sons of the same mother fight among themselves. Actions pertain to the doer, whereas knowledge, born of inquiry, does not pertain to the individual, but pertains to the thing in itself. The injunctions may be done, may not be done, or may be done differently, but knowledge, which is paramount, cannot be so. Meditation such as I am Brahman is certainly different from knowledge obtained by inquiry. To formulate one thing as another is forced yoga. Direct knowledge gained by experience can alone be true. Do not be deceived by fanciful ideas. Knowledge is the result of direct experience, whereas meditation is mere mental imagery of something heard. That which is heard from others will be wiped off the memory, but not that which is experienced. Therefore, that which is experienced is alone real, but not those things that are meditated upon. Know that knowledge, but not karma, is the destroyer of ignorance at sight. Do not doubt that unreal meditation can grant real final deliverance. Hear me. During meditation, the image meditated upon by hearsay is not real, but when it materializes and is seen face to face, it becomes real. If you ask how unreal meditation leads to real and everlasting deliverance, each one is reborn in accordance with the last thought of his previous life. Persons are reborn in the form they meditated upon. But should one meditate upon the self in order to do away with any kind of rebirth, then one becomes the self. This is sure and certain. Disciple, if those who meditate on attributeless, that is, transcendental Brahman, become that, where is the need for inquiry or for knowledge? Master, meditation upon Brahman is based on hearsay. However, it becomes a fact of experience in due course. This experience is called the everlasting inquiry, knowledge or jnana, which destroys ignorance, or deliverance. This is the final conclusion. Disciple, if modal consciousness, after destroying ignorance, is left over in the all-perfect self, how can there be the experience of undivided being? Master, just as cleaning nut powder carries down the impurities in water and settles down with them, so also modal consciousness destroys ignorance and perishes with it. Disciple, what is the nature of the wise, liberated here and now? Master, They are free from thoughts and therefore live happy, like an undisputed overlord of the whole world, or like a babe. The idea of bondage and release vanish for them altogether, so much so that they laugh at those who speak of such things. For are they not to be laughed at who say that a mosquito took in the ether and vomited it forth? The son of a barren woman and the man seen in the post wore flowers gathered in the sky, wrangled over the price of the silver in the mother of pearl, in the city of the Gandharvas, armed themselves with the horns of the hares, fought and stabbed each other, died together and turned into ghosts. No man of sense will be excited on hearing this story. Since Maya itself is unreal, all its creation must likewise be unreal. Can the progeny be of a different species than the mothers? Therefore, do not heed heaven or hell, good or bad, but stay as the Self, which is Sat, Chit, Ananda, Purna, perfection. Disciple: Master, tell me, is it not blasphemy to deny as unreal the lotus-seated Creator and the other gods, the great men of the world, holy waters like the Ganges, the places of pilgrimage, the holy occasions, the four Vedas with their 6 auxiliaries, the mantras and austerities? Master, if it be sacrilege to deny dream visions as false, it would be sacrilege too to deny the world with its contents, which derives its existence from illusion. If, on the other hand, it is right to deny dream visions, it is only right to deny the world also, which is derived from illusion. If the Puranas hold up as men of merit the ignorant who regard the false as true, does any Shastra attach censor to the Jnani for calling the truth truth? Maya, which appears as the elements and their modifications with different names and forms, is false. Only the Self, which is all diffusive, as Sat, Chit, Ananda, is the truth. Disciple: of what nature is Maya? Who are in its grip? How did it come into being? Why did it arise? Duality is inevitable if Maya is separate from Brahman. If not separate, Brahman itself is false, like Maya. Master: because its nature is not determinable, Maya is said to be inexpressible. They are in its grip who think, "This is mine. I am the body. The world is real." No one can ascertain how this mysterious illusion came into being. As to why it arose, it is because of the person's want of vichara, discerning inquiry. A magician's unseen powers remain unknown until hordes of illusory beings make their appearance in the show. Similarly, the countless powers of Brahman remain unknown, but they are inferred only after the manifestation of the elements. The magician who stands on terra firma and the hordes conjured up by him are visible to the onlookers, but his wonderful genius for magic remains mysterious. So also the handiwork of illusion, the world, and the wielder of illusion. There are many powers distinct from Almighty Brahman and the world. The power is not apart from the wielder. The wielder of magic is real, but the apparitions of magic are not. Wise son, you can from this illustration ascertain the true nature of the reality, which is the wielder of illusion, and which at the same time remains whole and as the self. Thus, get clear of your doubts. Disciple, why should the power which is unreal be said to exist? Master, look how the grasses and their like, which appear insentient, put forth blossoms and bear crop. But for the consciousness pervading them all, the mobile and the immobile, beings would lose their immemorial nature. See the wonder of how the embryos in eggs develop into birds of so many hues. But for the governance of an unseen force, all the laws of nature would be blotted out, like a kingdom without a king. Fire would burn water, bitter things taste sweet. Even the degraded would recite the Vedas. The immovable mountain ranges would float like clouds in the air. All the oceans would become sandy wastes, and there would be no fixity anywhere. Disciple, Master, how can this power of consciousness, that is Maya, which cannot be seen or known or expressed by anyone in words, and which forms the root cause of diverse names and forms, be rooted out. Otherwise, how is Brahman to be meditated upon as the non-dual reality to gain deliverance? Master, what becomes of the well-known qualities of air, water, or fire when they are checked by amulets or incantations? If you stay as Sat Chit Ananda, free from other thought, Maya becomes extinct. No other method can be found in the whole range of the Vedas. What remains unmanifest in clay becomes manifest as a pot. To discard names and forms and recognize the clay is true knowledge. In the same manner, discard the fancied notions of plurality of beings and realize the self as pure consciousness. Disciple, though false, how can the persistent appearance of non-being, insentience, misery in the fullness of being consciousness bliss be wiped away? Master, though the reflection in a pool of water appears head downwards and tremulous, yet when the figure on the ground is considered, which remains upright and steady, that worthless image is then seen as unreal. Knowledge is the cause, the objects, the effects. It is fruitless to discuss how the phantoms of names and forms came into being and how they will vanish, not caring how this long drawn out dream of the world came into being or how it is withdrawn. Only remain aware as the consciousness self, which is all embracing. To the degree that you turn away from attachments to the unreal, your inner vision of reality develops. If by a steady practice of this kind, the mind comes under control and becomes aware as consciousness self, you can abide as the ocean of bliss, though living in the bitter body.